Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. We have a bit to cover and a lot of it is quite interesting. I'm going to go over it and tell you what I think because it seems like everything is slowly starting to line up with information that we had earlier this year. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Bitcoin's relatively stabilizing prices are a marker that the currency is gaining global acceptance, edging closer to being a regular market, according to a Poland-based research. The report, called Bitcoin Market Route to Maturity, Evidence from Return Fluctuations, Temporal Correlations, and Multi-Scaling Effects, states that Bitcoin is now on the verge of being a valid competition to Forex markets. The study traces the per-minute price changes of Bitcoin since 2012 and the various factors that led to the fluctuations in the market. After studying the factors including volatility, auto-correction, and return distributions, the report concludes that Bitcoin and its market looked eerily similar to that of a market maturation curve. The report stated, and I do quote, "While early trading was affected by system-specific irregularities, it is found that over the months preceding April 2018, all these statistical indicators approach the features of hallmarking maturity. This can be taken as an indication that Bitcoin's market and possibly other cryptocurrencies carry concrete potential of eminently becoming a regular market alternative to the foreign exchange," end quote. Stanislaw Drodzge, one of the professors involved in the study, which was featured in the journal called Chaos, an interdisciplinary journal of non-linear science, said that apart from the initial fluctuation, Bitcoin has been reasonably consistent. He said the crookedness originated from the first 2 years of the analyzed period, that is, from the time when the market was just starting to shape itself. Later on, the returns of rates of return fluctuated according to the inverse cubic law, end quote. According to the researcher, Bitcoin has now met every parameter used for grading a financial maturity. He was optimistic about the future of other cryptocurrencies if Bitcoin could make the breakthrough. The professor said the most important statistical parameters of Bitcoin market indicate very clearly that for months now it has met all the important criteria of financial maturity. It seems that in the case of other cryptocurrencies, it will be possible to expect a similar transformation. He further added that if this happens, Forex markets around the world will find fierce competition in cryptocurrencies, pointing at a bright future for the decentralized tokens. Now, where do I even begin? Let's go back in time a tiny bit. Remember that guy who said, creepily, might I add, that he planned on taming Bitcoin, that the market would eventually stabilize, that things would get a lot better. When we've had news about the stabilization of the cryptocurrency market before in the past, it has always centered around the idea that when Bitcoin hits over $100,000, there will be so much money inside the ecosystem and the amount of volume that we have per day, and therefore a massive increase in liquidity, will cause Bitcoin's price to begin to stabilize. This will only increase as we hit $250,000 and then $1 million, and then the fabled, $100 million per Bitcoin. We're not going to even touch on that. When that guy said that, a lot of people didn't realize what he meant, and now this is why I said a couple months later, it seems a bit more clear. What I think has happened is my own theory on this, because everything is slowly lining up. We've had news before that the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, Fidelity, and all these other places were thinking about getting into cryptocurrency since around 2014. Some of them said 2015. That's still 3 years and some change right now. What I think happened is, or is happening currently right now, is that in order for Bitcoin to be accepted, quote unquote, by all the institutional investors, I think there has been a plan for quite some time to stabilize the price of Bitcoin exactly where it is right now. You may have noticed over the last couple of 8 months, Bitcoin's price has been completely going sideways, and I said it doesn't make a lot of sense. We've had a lot of analysts and journals and people writing about it, and everyone talking about why is Bitcoin's price so stable, and a lot of them say that the market has matured to a certain point where it's just stabilized itself. I'm going to call, excuse my language, BS on that, simply because Bitcoin's price has never been stable. We had a higher Bitcoin price and we had higher volume before in the past, and Bitcoin's price was never as stable. Bitcoin has never had a stable history. Bitcoin has never had months where it completely went sideways, especially, and I'm going to get to that in 1 second as well, especially when we've had like incredibly great news. So the overall picture, what it feels like to me that has happened or currently is happening, is that the people who have decided to finally get into the cryptocurrency market, the NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, the blah, 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 the names I keep repeating over and over, something is coordinated between them that they made sure that Bitcoin's price and the rest of the cryptocurrency prices were stable enough, because part of the reason that we heard at the end of last year was that nobody, quote unquote, the bigger players wanted to get into cryptocurrency because the fluctuations were too crazy. We had people who were leaving from Wall Street to get into cryptocurrencies simply because they said that they liked the fluctuations. These were day traders. They said they loved when it was going up and down like this because it was very easy to make a profit. However, the major other players said that in order to be a proper asset, you had to show stability. I think it's far unlikely for Bitcoin at $6,000 to show more maturity and more stabilization, if you will use that word, than when we were around $10,000, $15,000. I feel like pushing up even further, regardless of the hype that we had last year in the market, that's a huge indicator that any type of sell-off wouldn't have had a major cause or effect for the price to crash. And this is why I think in order to push the prices down that we had last year from the 20,000, it was a coordinated effect by all of the other countries. Because I told you before, I said it's really weird that we were getting news about every single country, and they waited at least 2 days between themselves to drop news that they were thinking about either regulating cryptocurrencies, banning ICOs, or banning cryptocurrencies altogether. And I said it's kind of weird, if you find something to be a threat, especially as a world power, this is kind of how I feel about it, you would come forward all at the exact same time and say, no, this is, put a stop to this, hammer down, no more can happen. But they were doing it days after each other. Like every time there was a major dip and the market tried to recover, it was another country who came forward and said, no, we're going to do this as well. And then lo and behold, none of these countries have actually even banned cryptocurrencies. They're all just trying to figure out ways to properly regulate ICOs and security tokens within their country. What I think has happened is the market has been stabilized on purpose in order to show that the market is mature enough for big money to be able to get in. I still think the entirety of this is coordinated. If you don't think I'm correct, that's fine. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. But do research on exactly how big money works. If Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are meant to be a multi-trillion-dollar market, there is literally big money at stake here. And this is something that if you take years to even think about getting into the space, you're going to, over the course of 900 days, you'll probably have figured out a way to be able to not only stabilize the market, but make it so that you and your friends and other corporations and banks and entities have a chance to be able to get into the market. This is why we've seen such an explosion of people talking about that they're getting into the cryptocurrency space. And I don't think it's also a mistake or random that a report was written by Poland, who also at the beginning of the year, you can Google this, they paid a couple of YouTubers to downplay cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and talking about how bad they were. Yes, Poland did this, and then they came out a couple months later talking about that they were sorry that they paid a couple of YouTubers to throw dirt on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. That is coming from a country like Poland, who said that they didn't like cryptocurrencies, and I'm pretty sure that one of the countries was also struggling to figure out a way why Bitcoin is so popular and how they can also have a slice of the market, if you will. I honestly don't think Bitcoin is any more mature than November, December 2017. I think if anything, it's lost a bit of its weight behind it, if you will. We've had a huge amount of people who have entered the cryptocurrency market and have been buying over the counter. That's great. That's wonderful. But none of this has really translated into anything inside of the market. I think this is, when I say coordinated, I can feel people cringing. I can feel the, he's not being weird, but the whole like tinfoil hat thing. This is when you think, so I was discussing with someone before, and I was saying, people don't understand just how big crypto is going to be. Even when we have discussions about Bitcoin and XRP and them battling each other and, fight to the crypto death and stuff like that. When you have a situation, let's say, where you are in control of 10,000 Bitcoin, if your government has managed to mine 35, 40,000 Bitcoin over the last couple of years because of your mining operations, and Bitcoin ends up hitting $1 million per coin, this is huge money. And you have to keep in mind that the players behind the scenes, they may not be as nefarious or in the dark, like I always say, like in a dark tower, stroking their hairless cat or something like that. But this is all being played out in a very interesting way, and I think a lot of people aren't really understanding exactly what's happening. Also, so on the entire topic once again, where I was talking about how we've gotten so much good news, but yet Bitcoin has remained stable. If you were here, let's say from February 2017 until about, let's say, September, October, that time period, or any time before, and I mean starting from like 2009, 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there, you should remember very well, whenever we got news about anything Bitcoin related, the price would go up. If we had news from was it Cyprus? When we had like news about countries and their currencies, being devalued, or this was happening, or the world market is doing this, or something's happening over here, Bitcoin's price would spike up almost immediately. If we had a company, one company, mention Bitcoin in a statement, the amount of not hype, the idea that company could potentially one day maybe use Bitcoin or introduce it as a payment method, Bitcoin would spike up by around 30%. And this isn't even like major companies. It was anyone who was talking about Bitcoin, especially around 2015, 16, beginning of 2017. If Microsoft mentioned it, if Google mentioned, oh yes, we've heard of Bitcoin, the speculation went completely insane. There was right here the CEO of Pantera Capital, I think it's called. He had an interview. I'm not going to read through the entire thing. He had an interview a day or two ago, maybe even like a day. Yeah, he was talking about, people were asking him what they thought about the cryptocurrency space. One, he says that he thinks that the next bull run will see a 1,000% rise from where we currently are right now. And the host was asking him, they said, this is, you've been in this space for quite some time. He said, yeah, I've been here for quite some time. What do you think about everything that's happening in the cryptocurrency space? I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. I think 2018 has been the perfect time for infrastructure to be built. I think it's great what this project is doing. I love what they're doing. And then the host goes, well, you've been in this space for quite some time. I'm sure, remember when anyone would mention Bitcoin, especially there was a time where, if you Google it as well, type in like eBay Bitcoin, it should be around 2014, 15, or 16. I remember when for some reason, people were selling Bitcoin on eBay. Don't even ask. Like, actually, don't even ask. We had an indication from, I think, eBay UK that an article said like Bitcoin will be allowed on eBay for selling or trading, or it was something along those lines. The price went astronomically insane. So the host was asking him, they said, we've had major spikes in Bitcoin's price before. Can you explain why Bitcoin is going sideways? And he kind of looked at her little, what do you mean? She said, well, we have news that Fidelity, ICE, the New York Stock Exchange, and so are getting into the cryptocurrency space. Why haven't the prices moved? He was like, he said, and it made me a little upset because I knew that he knew he was lying. He said, I think the reason why the market isn't moving is that people are waiting for Bitcoin to scale properly. His argument was that he thinks the reason that the entire crypto market isn't moving right now is because Bitcoin can't scale. And I sat there and I watched, I think, another minute and a half of the interview, and I had to turn it off because I was so upset. I don't think for a minute and a half that the crypto anything is stable right now or moving sideways, because every other altcoin is waiting for Bitcoin to be able to scale properly on the Lightning Network, whether it be through Liquid, whether it be through SegWit 2x 4.9. I don't care what you say. When he said that, I knew in that moment that a large part of the industry leaders have no idea what they're talking about. This is why I always say, when you hear news about someone talking about this is going to happen or so-and-so is going to happen or blah, 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 wait till we get proper confirmation, because I think a lot of these people are also perplexed. This is why we had so many people during the beginning of this year talking about that Bitcoin is going to rise in April. Bitcoin's going to rise in May. Bitcoin's going to rise after this convention. Bitcoin's going to happen so and so. The end of July is typically when we see prices rise. The beginning of August, the beginning of September, when people come back from holiday, and this is when so and so. Bitcoin hasn't risen. None of the other cryptocurrencies have risen. And this once again all ties into this, exactly what I was just talking about Bitcoin being mature and stable enough. In the past, the idea of Bitcoin's validity in the financial world was that if we got accepted as a payment method by eBay, by Amazon, by Apple, by Microsoft, pets.com, like it doesn't matter what it was some type of like hyper excitement in the community because we knew that like we were moving closer to real world adoption. So when we have news that Fidelity Investments, whoever didn't get to see the other video, that they control or they are maintaining, 7.4 trillion with a T dollars worth of assets, and that the New York Stock Exchange, the people who control it, called ICE, are making both of them are making their own cryptocurrency exchange, with potentially Bitcoin being at the forefront of the ICE project, and Bitcoin's price actually went down. That tells me, once again, this is why I said it takes time to see the forest for the trees, or to kind of get the larger picture of all of this. Something is at play here, and I want to know exactly what it was or what it is. It's hugely widely believed that when the cryptocurrency markets, I'm going to say, are allowed to finally go back up, we're getting price predictions anywhere from 60,000 per Bitcoin. Well, first of all, the idea is that the next bull market is going to last between 12 to 18 months. That is a long, almost cursed. That is a long time for prices to continue to go up. The idea is that by the end of that cycle of the bull market, Bitcoin will either be between 60,000, 120,000, or around $220,000 based on that bull run. And that is also in a world where also the other coins are also going up at the exact same time. The amount of interest in the cryptocurrency space by the larger players is all too it's way too obvious right now how much money is actually in there. The fact that Bitcoin isn't around $15,000, do you know what it means for Fidelity and the ICE to be into cryptocurrency, and more so to be into Bitcoin? And talking about the head of the ICE, he said that he thinks that Bitcoin has the potential to become a world currency. The fact that markets didn't move on that, and the fact that markets went down, people were talking about that they thought that the markets went down because nobody wanted institutional players in the game. Bitcoin is decentralized and so and so. Bitcoin is just about money right now. For those who haven't gotten that, I welcome you to the club. Please have a seat. Bitcoin is just about money. We're talking about something that's sitting at $6,000 right now that people are predicting is going to go to $250,000 within the next 3 to 4 years, or even the next 2 years. I mean, I'm going to move on from this topic, but understand the severity and like how heavy all of this actually is. When we do have a bull run, it's going to be something astronomical. The fact that people are writing and researching, talking about how mature Bitcoin has not become more mature in the last 10 months. Nothing has really changed. If anything, the market has become destructively shaky. We get news about people moving around Bitcoin wallets, moving Bitcoin from wallet to wallet in a wallet that hasn't moved since around 2012 or 13, causing a panic in the market and prices going down. I would not be shocked at all if one of the people who moved that money around was one of the people who got into Bitcoin very, very early. We've had so many news stories about people who got into Bitcoin when it was like floating around $10. There was a news story the other day. Somebody bought like $3 million worth of it. And I wouldn't be, first of all, to be able to have 30,000 Bitcoin, you had to not have a lot of money in the past. I put it that way. And if you know that you can move money from one wallet to another to lower prices so that you can get a better foothold on the market and buy even more cryptocurrencies that you were trying to buy before, I would not be shocked at all. You know how like when like a major world event happens, And then like 10 years later, like books start being written about it and stuff like that, and people start talking about like the the real story as to exactly what happened. Like they can't say their names, but they're in the book and they have all this crazy information. I by 2028, I'm almost certain some of the books that we're going to have out there talking about the manipulation in the market, which won't even matter at that point because Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies will have become world, mainstream things. People will put it off as FUD or it's fake or they're just trying to do so and so. I can only imagine what's happening behind closed doors, the amount of money that people are making, and the amount of money, when you have like major investors and stuff like that who make like $1 million a month. Imagine allocating like 33% of that into cryptocurrencies every single month and coordinating with other people to be able to push the market down so that you can continue buying more crypto. You know how much $333,000 buys across like 5 different coins? Imagine buying $60,000 worth of XRP, Bitcoin, Litecoin, EOS, and Omise Go. That's, I don't know. It's all becoming far too clear for me. I think my biggest gripe right now is that the market just isn't moving. I mean, it is what it is. Time will tell when things will, I guess, hopefully get back to normal. Like I'd rather have days where Bitcoin's fluctuating 35% up and down every single day. A little bit of heart palpitations, but I'd be able to get through it. The fact that it's going sideways lets me know or believe that the market is gearing up for something major. I didn't mean to spend too much time on this, but you have to see how fascinating that this is. That in the past, even the beginning of 2017, if someone like looked at Bitcoin for like 5 minutes, the price would rise by 10%. And we have these major industry players getting into the game and then the prices fall. Something's kind of weird. I do not agree with this guy. Sorry, I don't know him. Probably never going to meet him. I don't think that the market as a whole is waiting for Lightning Network to be fully implemented by 2021 to allow Bitcoin to have its proper bull run. That's just how I feel about it. Something big is happening behind the scenes. I don't know what it is. I don't know who's playing what or doing with who, but I find it incredibly fascinating, and I just whatever. I'm going to move on from here because I could actually go on forever. Okay, let's move on. So, IOTA is in the news today. It's really interesting after like I get really hyped up from talking about something, trying to calm myself down for the next story. It's like, I don't know, I have to like, not smack myself, but anyway. So the point is, there was something that was happening a couple of days ago. People were talking about ICOs and China banning cryptocurrencies and how to actually properly implement something like this on the IOTA platform. So it says, therefore, what do you do when you have great proposals to build projects on your network and you do not want to issue ICOs to fund them, specifically talking about the IOTA project? It said this question has popped up at the IOTA camp as they attempt to figure out the funding for projects that wish to build on the Tangle network. The team at IOTA has proposed a unique way of avoiding tokenizing the process by having the IOTA native token as its basis for the funding. In a recent Medium.com post, IOTA's Tom gave a glimpse of how it could all work. He identified the need to fund projects aiming to utilize the Tangle through the following statement. He says, as the technology evolves, it will become apparent that it can be used for a large number of other things as well. When the IOTA Foundation funding some type of projects, we saw the need for an alternative funding option for the many projects which are expected to be built on top of the Tangle/IOTA. Tom was optimistic about the future given the growing interest to build on the IOTA Tangle, as well as a new functional computer language known as Abra. With the ICO frenzy of 2017-2018 tarnishing the crowdfunding process, the team wants to create a hybrid between an ICO and a Kickstarter. The new process will be known as IOTA ISO. The IOTA native token will be the fuel for the entire process, thus avoiding situations of tokenizing that might result in regulatory scrutiny as seen with many ICOs. This is important. I'll get back to all of this in 1 second. That the fact that they're trying to figure out how to get around regulatory scrutiny is very important for all of this. Tom goes on to state that following with regards on how it could work. He said the people and companies who wish to utilize our funding platform will commit to build systems and services using the IOTA technology and using the native IOTA token as fuel for their future services or other functions where there is a need for a value token in the system. We suggest that the funders only use IOTA tokens for the funding, as it secures this system and we can control the release of funds. The early funders buy a future service by participating in the funding rounds, and they are entitled to receive servers or IOTA-based products when the system starts to make money. TomTom goes on to explain how the entire project can be controlled using smart contracts. Firstly, the project owners and participants of the funding will need to create IOTA wallets where they can send and receive IOTA tokens. Secondly, the participants will need to have receipt wallets where they hold their receipt tokens as proof of rights according to the project's description. Without going into it much further, one, IOTA is trying to get into the smart contract game heavily. Smart contracts are expected to still be the big thing, not even the next big thing. Like, the world is expected to run not exclusively. Like, when you have contracts, if you're trying to write a contract for anything, buying something, selling something, going somewhere, if you have ever had to tick a box somewhere and it says, do you agree to this, is expected to all run through smart contracts eventually. So the fact, one thing that I find incredibly interesting about all of this is that they're thinking of doing something very similar to what EOS is doing and what has happened with Ethereum. So it can be a bit of a double-edged sword in that if you want to be able to build something on top of them, you have to use the IOTA token. And what this could then bring about is not only an enormous amount of liquidity for the IOTA token, but also an increased rise in price for IOTA token once again, as the token is used, quote unquote, exclusively for having to do things on their project, and even funding the ICOs, as they're not trying to call them. They're trying to call them IOTA ISOs. I assume it's initial security offering. That's what I would assume that it kind of is, as they're trying to get around. Right. Anyway, point is, the other side of this is, it's smart to have your token used, like actually being used. This is yet again another use case of your actual token that you need to actually have in order to show that your token is used or useful, if you have to use it for the system. The other part of this is, if stuff happens like it did with the Ethereum group team project right now, where people were selling off 300, 400,000 Ethereum at a time, and the price of Ethereum was slowly falling down. I mean, I hope maybe they'll figure out a way to do it. Maybe there'll be like a bit of a lockup period, similar to like what Steam had, where like you couldn't really, for those who've never used Steam, Steam had a thing where every time you tried to like sell, I read about it somewhere, every time you tried to sell off your tokens, you could only sell off like a portion of it. And the fact that it was like a slow drip that you were able to kind of sell never had any real effect on the actual price, because I think it took like, 2 or 3 months, maybe a bit more, in order to sell off the entirety of your. So if you're selling off over the course of like a 10-week period, 15-week period, there's no real like, it's just not shown in the price. Like, if you dump everything at once, people will be able to see that, somebody sold 300,000 at once. That's a problem. The point is, I feel like IOTA is doing what they should right now. They're staying in the background. They're trying to build their infrastructure. They're trying to build partnerships with other companies who are not being targeted by other people in the cryptocurrency space right now. I don't know how big IOTA is going to be. I wish we heard, I don't know. I was going to say, I wish we heard more from, like, not world leaders, but like other organizations and companies who are going to be using the IOTA token, or even their Tangle. But I guess a lot of it has to do with like non-disclosure agreements. You can't say who's doing what with this and so and who's using so and so. I think IOTA is probably going to be large in the future. If it's going to be the largest one, I don't know. I think like 15 coins right now keep claiming that they're going to be the number one coin in the next couple of years. Who knows exactly what's going to happen, but I think this is a very good start. Smart contracts on your platform, they're almost necessary right now. And to be able to have or build crowdfunding projects, as they're not calling them ICOs, on the Tangle, and specifically using the IOTA token, is probably one of the best things that I've heard for quite some time from the IOTA project. And I hope that they continue with this form of not fundraising, but like method of thinking, as far as like making sure that their token is used for things that are on the platform. Because if you have a platform where your token doesn't have to be used, then, something is not going right. At least that's how I feel about it sometimes. So this is a bit of a bundle of news right here. They all kind of connect together. First, we have Huobi has announced they will be listing 4 US pegged dollar cryptocurrencies this week, making it the latest major exchange to do so in the wake of recent issues surrounding the Tether cryptocurrency. In an announcement on Tuesday, the Singapore-based exchange, currently the fourth largest by trading volume, said it would open deposits and withdrawals for Trust tokens TUSD, Circle's USDC, and two regulator-approved stablecoins, the Gemini exchange GUST and Paxos's PAX, on the 19th of October. Huobi is also the fourth largest trading platform for the trading of US dollar peg stablecoin Tether, with $231 million worth changing hands in the last 24 hours, according to CoinMarketCap. Not really important. So that's the important part. The fact that they have listed 4 stablecoins at once during this week. On this as well, Tether, it says the loss of its US dollar peg isn't the only thing driving the market cap of Tether, the cryptocurrency market's largest stablecoin. The USD-backed token, which as recently as late August had a circulating valuation of $2.9 billion, is now worth just $2.2 billion, representing a 2-month decline of nearly 25%. A portion of the decline is a result of Tether's price falling below the $1 in assets that are supposedly backing each token. As CCN reported, the USDT/USD peg slipped away heading into Monday morning, throwing uncertainty into a market that relies on billions of dollars worth of Tether trading on the market daily. What's happening, or what has happened, for those who don't know, Tether right now is, I think, sitting around like 95, 96 cents, somewhere around that number. A 25% decline would give us a 75-cent Tether token, which means, or rather we know, we had news a day or two ago that the Tether people behind them or whatever have destroyed, I think, 300 million with an M dollars worth of Tether, and then another 200 million, I think 250 million to be more exact, I think that's the number, has also been taken off of Tether, which is kind of weird because Tether is supposed to be backed by the US dollar. All the money that they have backing the Tether token is supposed to be sitting inside of an account, and unless something really crazy has happened over the, the price slipping is probably one of the things, but this would represent that more or less rounding down, let's say $6 billion worth of Tether, or rather US dollars, were taken out of their treasury over the last week or 2 weeks, which is a bad sign, as we saw a couple days ago where there was like a huge spike of Tether going down and then all the other prices of coins going up. Told you guys what I thought about the two possible scenarios for what is probably going to happen, because it looks like Tether might be on its last legs. If you, I said in another video, I think we have about 2 weeks left, and I think Tether will still be around, but there's going to be a dramatic shift away from it, and that has to do with, first of all, them adding 4 stablecoins, and also the Winklevoss twins, their stablecoin, the GUST, rising dramatically in popularity. It says the second stablecoin has broken its peg with the US dollar, except this one's soaring well above the buck, not tanking it. According to market data from CoinMarketCap, the Gemini exchange issued Gemini dollar, or GUST, saw its price at an all-time high of $1.19 on Tuesday, after first breaking its dollar peg on Monday when it shot up to 114. At press time, the token was trading at around 118. At the moment right now, it's around $1.04. Why this happens, people were asking before, why do stablecoins break the $1 trend? It has to do with supply and demand. As Tether is slowly collapsing into itself, what's happening is that people are looking to buy into another stablecoin in the idea that there could be a market drop as we figure out that Tether has not been as real as they have claimed that they have been over the last couple of months. And when this happens, this is why we see these spikes up right here, because people are buying into the Gemini dollar and other stablecoins. I told you, first of all, this is, I think, even like a bit not old at the moment, because every single week we have about 2 or 3 new stablecoins that are talking about coming out. I think there's only like 19 listed here, but I think 23 have, oh no, maybe it's even more. Yeah, that definitely might be exactly what it is. These are all the stablecoins that we have at the moment right now. that are popular, what have you. This is only going to continue. I was wondering for so long why there was a big push to create stablecoins, and it seems to be simply because everyone else who has been trying to make the crypto market legitimate probably they probably got in contact with the first two auditors for Tether, spoke to them, realized that that Tether wasn't actually real. Like I said many months ago, and people said I was lying, and they've done everything that they can right now to create as many other stable coins as they can, so that when Tether does finally implode, and I'm going to say, I give it by the end of this year, Tether will probably be done. But I give it 2 weeks for Tether news to kind of die out, and we're going to have a lot more news about other places adding stable coins as a new alternative to Tether. They figured out Tether was fake before anybody else. People kept on saying Tether wasn't fake. This graph and all these coins definitely beg to differ. I mean, it was bound to happen at some point. I'm glad that they at least took the initiative to figure out that something was wrong, make all these other stable coins, and I hope that they do what's needed so that they can promote these other stable coins so that people can dump their money into these and start using these instead of having in their mind that they have to use Tether. The Tether name is going to completely disappear. I said before, I think that every country, maybe every continent, maybe somewhere around there, is going to have their own stable coin that's known in their land, if that makes a little bit of sense. It's going to more or less become digital fiat. That's kind of how I feel about it at this point. I feel like all these companies and stuff like that are trying to stake their claim. Everyone right now is trying to be the Google or the Amazon or even the PayPal. And if you are compliant enough, which is what the Winklevis have been, you then put yourself in a nice position to be able to be that stable fiat coin, because I assume that by the time we have proper news about Bakkt launching and this launching and the NASDAQ launching and this launching and Fidelity, they're probably also going to be listing stable coins, and I assume they're already in talks with companies and stuff like that to be able to list their stable coins. I think at this point Tether's out the door. Tether's not even there anymore. I would assume, just based off of what we've been hearing over the last couple of weeks, the stable coins for the United States, at least like I said for right now, are probably going to be the Gemini token and Paxos, simply because over the last 4 weeks, we had news that Gemini and Paxos were the only coins in the United States, and I think they also have the New York bit license or something like that are like hyper regulatory compliant, and they were also receiving praise from Bloomberg and Fortune, which leads me to believe that they're probably at the front of the line. That's not to say that the other ones won't continue to exist, but as far as like who is going to be the main payment method or the most well-known stablecoins that, across the land, it's probably going to be those two. But yeah, like I said, we had a lot to discuss. There's a lot going on in the cryptocurrency space. We're definitely seeing a major shift away from a lot of things. I don't think Bitcoin is stable because Bitcoin's mature. I think the next bull run is going to be absolutely insane. The market is not waiting for Bitcoin to scale. If you want to be frank about it, we have at least 38 other coins in the top 100 that can do at least 1,500 transactions per second. So the market is definitely not waiting for that. Just a lot going on. I'm pretty sure this isn't even it for the day. There's always some other type of news that ends up floating around, coming out at the last minute. Something crazy. This is also supposed to be the week. This is supposed to be the week where we get confirmation about the partnership between Tron and I think Baidu, which is the Google of China. And I read somewhere last night, and I'm waiting for like proper confirmation on the entire thing. This article that I had claimed that the entire Tron partnership with Baidu isn't even a partnership. It has to do with cloud services, and the company Baidu using Tron for their network and not even using their token. Once again, that's all speculation. But this is once again the week that we're supposed to receive proper clarification. All right, everyone, that is definitely going to do it for this video. I'm exhausted. Hope you all had I was about to say, I hope you all had a great day. You've been watching this and the day hasn't really gone by. Hope you all continue to have a great day. Thank you for watching and or listening. I do appreciate all the support. Hope you all have a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be, don't get down on Tether. I don't know if anybody was really like depressed at all about Tether, but at least we know that something's being done to kind of get away from it, because the market definitely has to make sure within the next, by the time Backed and all that other stuff launches in November, we need to be far away from Tether. We need to, this is why we have this huge initiative right now going on where everyone's listing other stablecoins. Anyway, point is, hope you all have a great day. Thank you once again, and I'll talk to you all soon. See you.